New reporting this morning that reveals Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu no longer allies, at least not now. The former president confirming he doesn't even speak to the former Israeli prime minister, adding F him. Trump goes on to say the first person that congratulated Biden was Bibi Netanyahu, the man that I did more for than any other person I dealt with. He has made a terrible mistake. Want to bring in Barak Ravid, Middle East correspondent for Axios. He joins us live from Tel Aviv. Barak, thank you for being with us. I'm not sure I explained this as clearly as I could here. You've broken reporting as part of a new book coming out, and it was out in Axios overnight, that to me is really interesting, which is that former President Trump is livid at Benjamin Netanyahu. He isn't talking to him. He's pissed. He said F him. Why? All because Netanyahu dared to congratulate Joe Biden on his election victory. Why don't you explain to us what you learned?
Yes, hi, good morning. So, as you said, I interviewed Trump twice, once in April and second time in July as part of my work on my book that just came out here in Israel, Trump's piece, The Abraham Accords and Reshaping of the Middle East. And what was interesting in this interview is that it broke the myth that there was this bromance between Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. And this was a myth that both politicians cultivated for their own domestic politics. Netanyahu, I don't know if you remember, even during the election campaigns, put up those huge billboards with him and Trump standing next to each other with the headline "From a Different League." This was his, calling card as a politician, his relationship with Trump. And as you were surprised in the US, just imagine what people here in Israel thought. Because until today, everybody thought they were best friends, no daylight between them. And from now on, it's clear that this was bullshit.
A technical term there, I think you could say, Barack. But look,
Clinical.
it's not like clinical. Yes, it's not like Netanyahu congratulated him right away. He waited a little while.
Definitely.
And I also wonder what you think about the fact that, this sort of shows with Donald Trump how much personalities, obviously, he valued here, but also his view of, whether Netanyahu has to acknowledge America as a nation, not just acknowledge America if Donald Trump is in charge.
Yeah, I think this was one of Netanyahu's biggest mistakes because Bibi put all of his chips on Donald Trump and basically took Israel from the position that it was a bipartisan issue that both Republicans and Democrats supported. And during those 4 years of Trump, Israel became a partisan issue. And I think that what we see today with those quotes coming out, it is clear how big of a mistake Netanyahu has made. But I want to tell you another thing. What Trump says about Netanyahu and the fact that he congratulated Biden, and it's obvious that, Bibi didn't have any other choice. It's not done that you don't congratulate the elected president of the United States. But I think that the fallout between them, and my book reveals this quite extensively, was wider because this was just what broke the camel's back. Mm-hmm. Trump felt that Netanyahu, over his last year of his presidency, he felt that Netanyahu was ungrateful, disloyal, that he didn't really want peace with the Palestinians, and that he used him on Iran. And all of those things are going to be revealed in the coming days with more excerpts from my book published on Axios. And by the way, this upcoming Monday, we will release a two-part podcast on Axios, how it happened, Trump's big deal, with many, many, many more details of the fallout between Netanyahu and Trump over the Abraham Accords, Iran, and many other issues. So it's not just Bibi congratulating Biden. This was the end. During the last year of Trump and even before, there were many, many things that were hidden under the table because it was important for both Trump and Netanyahu to show that there's no daylight. And now we see that there was quite a lot of daylight.
And now they're not even talking, or at least they weren't
Exactly.
the last time you spoke to him. And I have to say, this is all news to us. All of it is something that I was certainly not aware of before this came out overnight. I was struck, though, and I know you say it's only a part of the story, the end of the story, but Trump went so far as to tell you, Putin waited, Bolsonaro waited to congratulate Biden or acknowledge the victory. Why couldn't Netanyahu? It's really interesting who Trump is referring to there in the company he's trying to put Netanyahu with.
Exactly, because it shows where he puts Netanyahu, in which category of leaders around the world. But Trump said even something even more interesting. He basically admitted that during his presidency, he took decisions that helped Netanyahu in his elections. When Netanyahu was trailing in the polls before the April 2019 elections, Trump took a decision to recognize the Golan Heights, the controversial area in northern Israel that was occupied from Syria in 1967, to recognize it as part of Israel. And Trump told me that after doing this, Netanyahu went up in the polls, and he said, if I haven't done that, he would lose the elections. So in Trump's mind, when he took this decision, it was also, there were other reasons, but one of the reasons was to help Netanyahu in the elections. And I think that this is why Trump felt so betrayed when Netanyahu didn't do the same for him.
Yeah, again, but it's at a personal level, not a global level. It doesn't matter. Getting peace here, peace there, doing the right thing doesn't appear to be what Trump cared about most. It's doing what benefits him personally that seemed to be driving all this and driving his rage, at least at the end. Barak Ravid, I look forward to reading this, or at least reading the parts that end up in English quickly. I understand it's in Hebrew right now, and I'm not sure I can make it through the whole thing in Hebrew.
Tune in to Axios on Monday morning. The podcast will be online, and there will be many, many more scoops, and you should stay tuned.
All right. Well, you're certainly good at the tease, in addition to your reporting. Barak Ravid, thank you so much for being with us this morning.